The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Wright. I do want to welcome everyone today. We have a very nice crowd. In behalf of Dennis Chiba and Adcieo and HEP Development, we appreciate everyone attending today. The webinar is part of a HEP educational series that we've put together over the years, and today's webinar is entitled Double Down, Growing Your Matching Gifts Through Events and Digital Marketing. I'll bet everyone thought they were just going to sit back and listen, but you do have a couple of responsibilities. If you get knocked off for any reason, you can certainly click on your links and phone numbers that you used initially to get back in. And if you get disconnected on the phone, you can, of course, simply dial back in. The presenters do have cell phones in case we run into any technical problems, but we've been pretty lucky recently, so I don't anticipate any. We will be recording the session today and putting it up with the PowerPoint on the HEP website, and you can find that in our Learning Center under Matching Gift Webinars. We do have over 30 webinars in our Learning Center. They're all free, and they're great for training new staff and taking your matching gift program to the next level. There are lots of ideas there. Most of them are given by directors of development and matching gift coordinators, from your universities and nonprofits around the country. So you can learn a lot there if you are so inclined. You do have a place on the menu today where you can ask some questions electronically. We'll try to answer all of those at the end of the session. We'll definitely not be working you too hard. I'd like to introduce Dennis Chiba to you. Dennis launched Adcieo in 2007 to address the emerging world of technology and social media as major opportunities for charitable organization fundraising operations arose. He's a driving force behind the company, backed by a dynamic team, and brings together resources to deliver maximum results. I've known Dennis for a number of years, and he is very attuned to social media, how to get the most out of it, and he can do A to Z in very creative ways. And he's worked for Komen, YMCA, and many food banks, just to name a few. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dennis. Dennis? Dennis, are you there?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
I am. And that's perfect. Do we want to go ahead and share? Perfect. So in terms of the agenda and the flow for today, what we really are looking at are a number of key things that we hope to cover. The first of which is to spend some time talking about exactly what is a matching gift. Some of this may be pretty common sense, but we'll want to shed maybe a little bit of a new light on that in way of looking at it.
Did we lose you, Dennis?
The second aspect, I apologize about that. Second aspect that we need to spend a little bit of time on is to really look at some key statistics and understand exactly what matching gifts may mean to your organization, especially as we head into the end of year giving cycle. We'll share some best practices and examples of best practices with client case studies, and then we'll spend some time looking at a recommended implementation process that allows you to really become very proactive in pretty quick order with a matching gift program if you have none at all. And then we'll have Q&A as we go along, and if you have any questions, as John mentioned, you can just go ahead and type them into the box as we go, and we'll respond to them as we can. So just as a quick intro, and John shared some information in terms of who we are. What we've done is we've worked with HEP for a number of years with a number of our clients, and so what we hope to do through this webinar is actually share some of the best practices and the experiences that we've seen. Some things really work well. Some things may also go against conventional wisdom and the way that we might assume, and we'll be able to share some data points around that and hopefully provide an opportunity for you to think about matching gifts and how you can take them to the next level with your organization. John, would you like to talk a little bit about HEP in the next couple slides?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Just a little quick background on HEP. A lot of you may be clients, but we've been at matching gifts for 15 years now. We are definitely a leading provider and have a team of researchers that make sure we keep all the matching gift programs, policies, and forms and URLs up to date. We're very proud of the fact we've got 7,000 plus clients, and those are Fortune or Philanthropy 400 clients, as well as thousands of colleges and schools out there. More recently, we've added a United Kingdom database. We're starting to add clients overseas. We just added another one in Colombia, South America, and so we're with some of the data now that is available on the social network. It makes matching gifts, truly international. We have several products, and we'll show you some examples of those. One for the website called eMatch Donor Link, and another one to populate your database with employer information and hence, matching gift information that follows on from that. So what is a matching gift? It basically is a gift made by a donor, place of employment, an employer to match an employee's donation. And it's a way to increase donations. You don't have to get another gift, but if you work at the matching gifts, you can make that number grow. The employers, and there are lots of them, agree to match the employee donation, usually at a ratio of 1-to-1. Exxon is an outstanding example. They matched 3-to-1, and folks in Texas, Houston, and around the country where there's Exxon employees really take advantage of it. Fidelity also matches 2-to-1, and so there are some very nice examples of people who match greater than 1-to-1. Usually there's a maximum per year that the company will match, and they do have deadlines when you have to get your form in by. Interestingly enough, a number of companies will match spouses and retirees, General Electric being a good example of retirees. So how many companies are out there that match gifts? Well, we're tracking 23,000 plus, and that number keeps growing every day. And so keep your requests for information, or if you have a company that you really don't understand whether they have a program or not, give us a call, and we'll be happy to research it, and that way we can potentially add that company to the database and add it for everyone. So give us a call when you're in doubt. A couple other key statistics. Over the years, we've seen that 1 in 10 gifts are match eligible, and we're adding a net new company on a daily basis. You have mergers, acquisitions, all kinds of things happen to companies. But the good news is, really good news, we're adding a new company almost on a daily basis, and sometimes it's 2 or 3. 50% of the Fortune 500 match gifts, and according to surveys, about $1.3 billion got paid out in matching gifts in 2011. And I like to point out these 2 examples. I think it's University of Texas and Austin got a check, I believe, for $1.4 million, and LSU gets a check for around $1 million each year from Exxon. So those matching gift dollars can definitely add up. And just a couple more examples here, and I can let Dennis chat a little bit about Komen. But American Cancer, a few years back, was at $12+ million, and I know Komen had some impressive statistics. But matching gift works for small nonprofits as well as large ones. I have an example that I use all the time. It's a Catholic high school up in the Boston area, and staff is 3 people. They do $121,000 in matching gifts. Why? Because whenever they talk to somebody or a name comes up, they're always checking where the person works, and you know, it can work for very small nonprofits as well as very large ones. The average matching gift, according to a survey of about close to 700 colleges, was last year $700. So it doesn't take too many of those for those numbers to add up. So I think I'm going to just a couple more stats here. Volunteer time, something where you can put in 20 or 30, 40, 50 hours. Your company will send a check to your nonprofit where you put in that time. Verizon has a program that does that. It's one that I can think of. But, you know, it can be overlooked as a possible revenue source if you have volunteers. And in terms of telethons, Ruffalo Cody is one of the vendors that provides that data, and comes in and kind of manages the program for lots of colleges, nonprofits. They did a study fairly recently, and 7.1% of the folks they got on the phone were matching gifts eligible, but it accounted for 10% of the revenue from the phone-a-thon that they conducted. So that's a survey of about 90 schools. So as you can see, there's a few dollars out there to be had, and I think I'm going to turn it over to Dennis here.
Great, thanks, John. Really, when we think about why do companies offer matching gifts, it's really a great opportunity for the company to be seen as a true corporate citizen. It's a really good employee perk, if you will, to allow your company to match your giving. Some companies will engage and for example, also match not just straight giving, but also some participation and things of that nature. John mentioned the volunteer dollars for doer concepts. So the idea around this is that it really is a good recruitment and retention program with companies, and it's amazing that when we really think through and understand this, how many employees just really don't know that their company matches their gift. And so this is where really the most fundamental thing that a nonprofit can do is help make your donors aware that their company may match a gift. And it may not be just for their current employer, but a lot of companies will also match based on retiree and or spouse giving as well. So you really want to make sure to promote this throughout. And with that, if we take a look a little bit about best practices and some general concepts around this, you know, the first thing is that we really want to make the process proactive. And so what we mean by this is that individuals and donors, if we put the onus totally on them to identify if they work for a matching gift company, then it kind of takes you, the organization, out of that cycle. So you can't control it at all. You can't encourage it to the same level. You're a little bit blind to it, which is fine. And this is a very fundamental. If you start by crawling, that's fine. But as soon as you start to walk, what we want to do is make that proactive. So how do we make it proactive? We make sure that the website has the appropriate lookups. We make sure that they have access to the forms. We make it easy for the donor to follow through. And so that's the first piece. Second thing is that we really want to incorporate the actual identification of the match into the donation form. And you're going to see an example of this in just a moment. And it really does go against a lot of what used to be conventional wisdom, that you get the gift first and then ask. What we know is this, is that if someone realizes they work for a matching gift company, they're going to give at a higher level. And so we want to do that. The process really needs to be integrated into your website. We know that 75+% of donors go to your website before they make a gift, even if they mail you in a check. Great opportunity to reaffirm and talk about this is through your newsletters and general communication. And then also making certain that your gift acknowledgments help close that loop. So these are all ways that you can remind and engage your donor. And if you are looking to just start a program, or if you're looking to audit your current program and say, what am I doing right, or what do I need to do, these are some very fundamental components to incorporate. So let's take a look at Komen, Maryland, and an exact example of this and how it has been incorporated in. As John mentioned, they really did have a good bit of success. A few years ago, what we did was we did some testing around placement, and we ended up with this being the prime placement just before the credit card information. And we asked people, click on that link, the big button there in the center, will your employer match your gift? Up pops a screen, and basically, if they've entered their company name in on the donation form, it'll do a search against the HEP database and return results. If they didn't enter in a company name, they'll be given an opportunity to enter it in on the pop-up screen. And when we capture that information, that's a real key thing. So what we do is we write that back into the database. So then, after the gift is made, a week later, we can send an automated communication out to those individuals and say, hey, don't forget, you work for Home Depot, and Home Depot is going to match 1-to-1, and here's the link to the form that you need to complete. So what we're doing is we're making it a very proactive approach, as opposed to just a reactive and wait for the money to come back in process. So when we look at a second aspect of Komen, so in addition to looking at this from a donation form standpoint, on the next slide, what we begin to see is we look at how we've integrated the employer search in to the website as a whole, so that we're able to allow individuals to click on and identify whatever company they work for if it is a match. It's also pretty interesting that just from an awareness standpoint, incorporating these things into social media posts, and you're using your acknowledgments to allow people to further share the message that they work for a matching gift company, it increases that awareness, the overall awareness. And again, the more we can do that, the better results you're going to see. Our next slide here really begins to drill down on some of the data, and you get to see. So this would be an example just of a lookup on the website and allow an individual to enter in their company name and get information back in terms of which companies match. And you can see in this case it's a pretty hefty search. So you can look, at general keyword, just using the word general pulls back everyone. And then you can drill down on the appropriate company that's your company. And then once you drill down, it returns all of the information, in this case for General Electric. So the most important thing here is that there's this matching gift form link. And so what you do is you make it really easy for your donors to actually get access to the information they need in order to submit the form so that you can basically double their gift. And when you look at this, it is pretty amazing on matching gifts. The range for General Electric, for example, anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 in terms of matched amounts in a 1-to-1 ratio. So your matching gift program is something that you want to look at for all levels of donors. So don't just target certain donors. You want to figure out how do you automate it, how do you capture the information so that the $25 and $100 donors you capture, but your major donors you capture as well. And when really looking at your plan, and those that are having events, for example, like a Komen, one of the key things when looking at your corporate teams really has to do with understanding which of your corporate teams match, because all of a sudden your fundraising opportunity really increases as a result of that. So as we continue to drill down here and take a look at the data, this is an example for Komen, Maryland. What we've done is we've wrote this back into, they use Sphere, Blackball product. It really does not matter what product someone is using. What we've done is we've written the data back into that core database. So then what you're able to do is have those automated communications go out. So all of a sudden, we know that there's a relationship between Kraft Foods and John Smith in this case, so that not only do we know that, but we have the link to the form. So in your email communications and follow-up, you can embed that in so that they don't have to go look for it or find it in any other way. And then the next aspect, when you think about going from a crawl to a walk to a run in terms of your performance around matching gifts, once you start to know individuals that are working for match-eligible companies, the way that you communicate with them, the ability to incorporate badges or incorporate reminders into your appeals, you can even incorporate it into your direct mail efforts, is a really powerful aspect. And you've got that data and that linkage to those individuals, so you can use it for a very personalized experience. And then as we take a look on the next slide here, when we think about what can be expected from results. So basically, when we just looked at a typical implementation with one particular client, and 3,800 constituents clicked the matching gift badge, and 78% of those that clicked searched for their company, and you know, which is pretty cool. 22 were able to find their company. And in that base year, the first year, 63 matching gifts came in from 11 companies. When we implemented the automated proactive approach, year one realized 410 matching gifts from 53 different companies. So that growth, and again, this is just going from that initial crawl stage of getting things into place and rolling out. Tremendous growth in year one around that. So, you know, when we think about these types of results and what you can do and what that looks like for your organization, on the next slide we start to drill down on that. So you want to know before you chat with a donor. So when you're dealing with major donors, the more prep that you do, the better off you are. The second thing is that, you know, measure matching gifts. You always want to be able to evaluate growth, create your baseline, see what's working, make adjustments. And you know, the next aspect of that is to begin to make sure that you have someone in charge. And quite frankly, some of the outreach, the follow-up, can be a good volunteer role that you have in your organization. You may not have a staff person or capacity for a staff person, and that's okay, but you need to have someone that's going to be in charge and follow through, and make certain that you record the data the right way. Make sure that you're recording the hard credits and the soft credits appropriately, because you're going to use that information the next time that you ask for a gift. And you know, when you think about knowing major gifts can be matched, and then, you know, what you want to do is really create a culture around this so that it begins to become an expected aspect of your overall fundraising plan. And when we think, you know, how do you start to really maximize this, and what things do you want to take into place? If we start to drill down on the next slide, first thing that you want to do is really look back over historical giving. And John mentioned some tools that HEP has, which we've been able to effectively use with a number of organizations to drill down and say, okay, well, you may not know everyone's employer, but you can actually run the names through Employer Find database and identify potential employers, and then hit them against the auto match, and then you've all of a sudden got a group of individuals that are match eligible. And we did some testing with one of our clients, a local food bank, and what we did was we took their donors over the course of the last 2 years to see how much money they had left on the table. And in 2 years' time, there is about $300,000 worth of matching gifts that they should have been able to have, but they didn't, because they didn't incorporate matching gifts into their effort. So from a standpoint of really being able to proactively look at this and take data that you currently have, identify where you're missing information. You want to get that, and then you want to be able to pull that in. As I mentioned, volunteers can be really good. Not only from the standpoint that companies often will match dollars for doers, but getting volunteers engaged to help you with the management of your matching gift program is really good. As I indicated, most donors are not aware of their employer's matching gift program. So think about not just in your newsletter communications, email communications that you send out, how can you create an experience around this with social media? How can you create something that's viral? The ability that you challenge people and identify if they work for a matching gift company. See how many of them actually do. Some of these things become when they look at their peers and say, oh, Susan works for a matching gift company, I wonder if I do as well. Or you start to identify like organizations, like companies that match. It makes you begin to think. So this is one of those things that the more awareness we can bring to donors, the better off you're going to be in the program. And then, the other thing to really think about is that programs are different, and so making sure that the access to the data is really there is a fundamental aspect of it. And then, I mentioned that spouses and retirees can also often be matched, so make sure that you don't forget about those individuals when you go through the process and look at it. So as we keep on moving forward here and look at what a typical implementation process might be, so there are some really fundamental things. Again, if we put a matching gift button on the donation form, I know that really goes against what most people would think in terms of getting the gift and then not. And the reason that I really feel that that's important is that when people know that they work for a matching gift company, they give at a higher level. And so you want to make them aware before they make their gift. The second thing is once they've made the gift, the emotional release of it and the connection to it begins to go away. The anticipation of making the gift is really when the emotion is most connected to the organization. So capture it there. And then make sure that you capture the donors who flag their employer, just as we saw in the example from Komen. Capture this information, put it into your database, and then you know who your key donors are that work for a match-eligible company, and then begin to use that in a relevant way and make sure that you share that information proactively with your donors when you communicate. Design and create matching gift buttons that can be inserted into your online forms, confirmation emails, and again, you want to have a consistent feel and look. You want to begin to brand this as part of your overall fundraising program. So spend a little bit of time understanding what you think this should look like and how you want them to be incorporated into your overall brand and communication strategy. And then, the final thing there is that don't just add this as an ad hoc comment. Spend a little bit of time and really think about the strategy around it, and then create the appropriate email and make it appropriate for your overall communication scheme and plan. But make sure that you spend a little bit of time and think through the individual donor's point of reference. So how can you increase that engagement? How can you use matching gifts as a way to actually take a donor and make them more connected to your organization and share that information? And as we think about each of these recommended processes, these really don't have to be all that difficult. These are pretty quick to do and pretty straightforward. So once you have the foundation in place, as we look at the next slide, we start to say, how do you actually move a little bit faster, and what is it that you can do? How do you go from that crawl to a walk? So this is where you're going to do a proactive screen of your database to find employers. You've got a lot of data in there. Your data is like every organization. It's a little bit dated, or maybe you have gaps. You want to make sure that employer information is a normal process that you go through. It's part of your policy and procedure, your best practices internally around data hygiene. How do you manage this, and how do you make sure that you keep it current? And then target your communications to donors once you find that there is a match. Again, relevancy is a key thing. And then, the final thing here is don't forget about your offline giving. You can run that through a batch process and then put in a second-tier communication out to those individuals to get them to actually submit the form. You can share with them the link to their particular employer's profile and data form, so that you can really begin to move from a reactive process to a much more proactive process around managing your matching gift opportunity. So as we think about each of these scenarios, again, this is something that an organization can do, and can do pretty quickly. If you think about having the fundamentals in place, really you still have opportunity to do it for year-end giving if you want to do it. And you have the opportunity to really leverage the opportunity that December holds for your organization. So what I've seen with organizations that implement a program, within 2 weeks they can be completely operational in that regard and begin to realize some of the returns. So it's something that whenever I look at fundraising and knowing the time that I spent actually trying to cultivate and identify donors firsthand and get gifts in, I always like to look for low-hanging fruit, and to me matching gifts is one of the most prime opportunities for an organization in regards of identifying and pulling in that low-hanging fruit. So that being said, I'd like to open it up for some question and answer, and I can drill down on any of the organizations that we've worked with in terms of best practices, and share some of those learnings if anyone has any questions.
Yes, Dennis, there's several questions that have come in. One is the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint will be available on our HEP website, and just give us a day or two to put it up there. It'll be under our Learning Center, under Matching Gifts webinars, and so the PowerPoint will be part of that. The next question is where can what's the name of the website that a donor can go search to see if their company does matching gifts? And maybe what we need to do to answer that is let's see here. Go back to showing an example, I think would be the best thing to do here. Let's see. So this is a sample of one of the websites. This is actually American Cancer's website, but it could be any website. Basically, what we do with an eMatch donor link is it goes up on your website. It looks like, the feel and the data around it is all yours, and the copy here is yours. The only thing that HEP provides is this little rectangle in the middle of the page here where you can type in your company name. A donor can type in a company name. Of course, the list of companies that will match varies depending on your type of your nonprofit. So if you're a school, it'll be one. If you're a high school, it'll be another list. If you're a nonprofit, a certain type of nonprofit, it would be another list. If you're a church, it's another list of companies, because not all companies match to all nonprofits. So, but this is what it would look like. It would be put up on your website, and the cost is usually less than the average matching gift, which, as I mentioned earlier, was $700. So we set these up on an annual subscription basis, but anyhow, that's what it looks like. I can show you lots more examples if you'd like. So let's go back here and see if we have here's some more questions. There was a question, who would you recommend to search for a donor's employer? We got a bunch of questions coming in here. Okay. How do you find out about matching volunteer hours and companies and payments for volunteer hours? Actually, if you type in Verizon here on your eMatch donor link, up will come Verizon's Dollars for Doers program, as well as the other 4,000 programs that are out there that these companies have in place. So you can find out the details. Let's say you have a big company in your town, like in Baltimore, let's say Constellation Energy, and if they happen to have a Dollars for Doers program, if you searched for Constellation Energy, it would show up under the slide where it comes out and lists the companies. It would show up as one of these. Typically, they have a very nice and a name for it, type of thing. And let's see. And yes, it would include details like the hourly rate, when you have to have it in by, how many hours, that type of thing. What's the best way, a question here, Dennis, for you, what is the best way to start? Let's say I'm a nonprofit, I just want to start a program. What's the first, say, 3 or 4 steps that you would do to get a program started?
Sure. The first thing is that I'd make the information accessible on the website, and so the slide that John just showed right here, where individuals can go to the website and basically see if their company matches, is the first thing that you should do. And that process is, as I mentioned, very straightforward and not difficult to do. It's just integrating in that little piece of code that allows the search to happen on your website. So that's first thing. The second thing that I would do is I'd create the buttons and put them onto your donation form. And especially if you're doing something for year-end, and I would do that. The third aspect that I would do is I would capture and make sure that you know who's clicking the form and who has identified as working for a matching gift company, so you can be proactive. And then the fourth thing that I would do is I would look at your offline data and be able to do that in a batch process to do some of the auto matching aspects. So if I had to identify 1 through 4, that's what I would do. Again, if someone's thinking about this for end of year, maximizing opportunity, you can definitely have 1 through 3 in place so that you can deal with your online giving and have the lookup on your website. And then you could have your plan for your offline follow-up and batch follow-up. I would schedule that for right after the new year to be able to capture all of your end-of-year gifts and be able to push that through that type of process. So that's how I would look at it. Okay.
We got a bunch of questions. What research tool would be best to find employers, a donor's employer? Usually an organization, I'll take a stab at it and then you can hop on, Dennis.
Sure.
Usually an organization will have some employer information, but most nonprofits, it's pretty skimpy. I'd say 10-20% is probably on average, but we have a product called Employer Find. It'll just take a name and address, email address, and go out and find employer information. And once it's identified the employer, then we run it through something called Auto Match, which says, Deloitte & Touche accounting firm does have a matching gift program, and here are the details of it. So it'll usually find somewhere between 4 and 12%, new matching gift eligible donors for you. So it's quite effective, and been working for number of years at finding employer information. And we also use social network data, which is self-reported employer information, and so that has resulted in the hit rate. In other words, how many we can find going up quite a bit from what it was, say, 3 years ago. So we take advantage of the public information that's available on, the social networks like LinkedIn, for example. So, go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly what you said. In the scenario I mentioned related to a food bank and how we were able to identify about $300,000 in unmatched or uncollected or unknown matches that they missed out on. When we were doing the data evaluation and preparation around an overall program, it was using the two tools that John just mentioned in order to uncover and identify that data.
There's another question here. Would you recommend reaching out to a company to match employee gifts before year end?
Would we recommend reaching out to a company that does matching gifts for year end or
yes.
employees?
Yes. Well, the question says here company, but would you recommend reaching out to a company to match employee gifts before year end?
Yeah,
probably reach out to your donors, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I would be making sure that my donors know that they work for a matching gift company. The exception to that would be if you're working on, if you have some sort of event scenario where a company is putting together a team and things of that nature, where you want to be able to use this as an additional aspect of that communication. But what I would be doing is I'd be reaching out to donors and definitely incorporating in matching gift information into your end-of-year appeal offer.
Okay. All right. We had another question here. Why would ExxonMobil not show up in a search, for example, like this one here, like maybe on American Cancer? The answer is that ExxonMobil has policies on the type of nonprofits they will match to. Remember I said churches, and the ExxonMobil matches 3-to-1 to educational institutions, and they match to other types of nonprofits, but it's not all of them by a long shot, and I think the ratio changes as well. For other kinds of nonprofits, it might be they only match to certain type of nonprofits at 1-to-1 for, I think it's cultural type events. Memory serves me correctly here. But yeah, not all companies will match to all kinds of nonprofits. So if you go on, let's say this was your nonprofits page and not American Cancer's, the companies, you could type in one here, it would show up. Type it on your website, it might not show up because they don't match to your type of nonprofit. If you're a church, for example, there would be quite a bit of difference. There would even be a difference between a church and a food program, or a church and a seminary would be, so that's what our research team keeps track of, is all that policy information. So, one question is here, our eMatch donor search field was moved from the top of our online giving page to the bottom, and now requires the donor to open the link. Which placement and method would you recommend? So in other words, is it better at the top of an online donation form or at the bottom? I believe
when we've tested, we found that placing it right before the credit card information is actually the spot that got the most clicks and visibility. So typically that's halfway through the donation form or so. After they entered in their demographic information and contact information, but before they enter in their credit card, is where we found to have good results.
Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. I think that's Dennis. Any examples using social media in events to drive matching gifts?
Yeah, I think the best example that I have there is by encouraging the conversation. We've done a number of tests around social media posts and how do you have a viral aspect related to it. One of the key things that we know is that with social media you have a lot of people that typically like something. That doesn't necessarily give you the same reach as if someone is commenting on something. So, for example, to have a challenge around identifying if your company matches a gift, and drive people to take a look up and then enter their company name in, yes, if it matches. Those types of things seem to have the most viral opportunity and engagement and awareness. So that would be an example that we've seen work pretty well, where you're really pushing out that question. Sometimes you can even, especially if you're doing this in conjunction with event-based fundraising, where we typically see incentives used in order to drive certain type of behavior. For example, in a peer-to-peer fundraising, an incentive to send out X number of emails to your friends and family is one that we typically use pretty successfully. And as part of that, if you're doing matching gifts in that environment, it also works well to actually put some sort of incentive around it. So you make it fun, you make it engaging to see how many of them work for a matching gift company, post the company name through Facebook, etc. It creates a nice little viral lift in terms of your visibility on the social channels.
Okay. There are some specific questions that came up on the questions and answers here that you guys, the audience, submitted. So I would suggest that you can contact either Debbie Snyder at Adcieo, and I'm sure she'll be able to chat with you about any of the things that Adcieo can help you with here. And I can certainly try to help you with any of the product-specific questions, and set up a time to chat or chat with you individually. Of course, we did have quite a few questions here today. I think I'm going to just show you one other thing here, and hopefully I can find it rather quickly. Let's see. I can get off the, here we go. Just want to take you to our website. One of the questions was, where does volunteer information show up on in our products? So let me see if I can find a quick example of that. Here's some of our clients that these are all samples of eMatch donor links, so if you want to take a look at any, you can certainly take a look here. Let's see if I can quickly find one here. This is the site we were on, American Cancer. And so let's see if we can find it. Non-retirees. I don't see it right off the top here, but let's just click on Verizon, one of the Verizons here. And usually if there are any specific comments, we would put them detailed about any of the programs. Some of those would show up in here. I'll have to get back to you individually, but this is another example where you have the matching gift form is a URL in this case, and a lot of cases it's a PDF as well. But anyhow, I will try to get back to that individual on a one-to-one basis. So anyhow, I do want to thank everybody for Dennis. Certainly thank you for your time today, and thank you for your creative ideas, and thank everyone for coming to our webinar. It is really appreciated. We enjoy doing these for everyone, and please give us a call if we can help you and get your matching gift program started. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dennis.